At the time I'm recording this, I'm 28 years old. It is Monday the 24th of February 2020 at about 7 p.m. This time last week, Monday the 17th of February, I went to a very dark place mentally and emotionally. That I've been to before a few times, but this time was really bad. It was a place of having racing, intrusive, suicidal thoughts, and I forced myself. I was at home alone, right? Currently living with my mum, but she was at work. I forced myself to get into the shower and get dressed and get on a train to a few stops to the nearest town to me, which is Watford. And walk around and be around other people and have something to eat and then come home. Right. Now, this isn't the first time I've had suicidal thoughts, and it's definitely not the first time I've been depressed or been in a dark place mentally or emotionally. Now, whilst all suicidal thoughts and me or someone else saying the sentence, I've been suicidal before, or I'm suicidal, is an accurate representation, I think, of any kind of suicidal feelings you have, I would make a small but important maybe distinction between what I was experiencing and what some people experience, which is that when I do it, when I've had these thoughts occasionally come to me, like over the last 9 months, since about I'm going to say like May time last year, sometimes when I'm on my own, sometimes when I'm not on my own, but I'm on my own in a room, even if other people are in the house. It always happens really in the house, never really outside or when I'm around people. Anyway, when it happens to me, it's not like I want to kill myself. It's kind of hard to explain, especially to people who've never had any kind of suicidal thoughts or been suicidal. It's not like I want to die, and it's definitely not like I couldn't imagine actually going through any of the actions that would require the various horrific different ways that painless or painful or anywhere in between ways that people kill themselves that we all know about, that I don't need to paint a picture for you or spell it out, but that being said, I have invasive suicidal thoughts, and the thoughts of killing myself that come into my head, or death, and definitely feeling so like trapped in my own head and so like low sometimes that it is like, oh, kill myself, fuck, I'm just in lots of pain. Definitely, depression definitely is a feeling of a need for human connection, and a need for love, and a need for just having happy thoughts rather than that. And it's not like my mum isn't very loving. She is. I've told her about this as well. She is loving, right? It's just some people, this happens a lot with men. Partly, I think it's because we are naturally less good, most men I'd say, than women at dealing with our emotions, and also we're taught not to express our emotions, or any emotions of sadness, or it's seen as weakness by society. Lots of people have childhood trauma. Lots of people have unresolved issues. Even people who don't think they have like obvious childhood trauma have some form of trauma, or teenagehood trauma, whether it be from their family or things that happened to them, they were bullied or whatever. Everyone's different. Everyone's reasons for having dark thoughts or getting depressed or suicidal, or even if they don't get suicidal, depressed thoughts are different, but they're all just as important. It doesn't take away from the way that person feels. And anyway, in terms of what I one of my reasons that I get like this sometimes is because I'm spending too much time on my own, right? Because I haven't been working for a while. I haven't been socialising much over the last 4 years, really. And human beings are not supposed to spend too much time on their own. You can get trapped in your head and go to a dark place. I wrote about how the next day I wrote about I sometimes do this, but I wrote about on Twitter how I was feeling, and then one of my lovely friends, one of my female friends who I've known, we've been friends since for like 11 years, since we were like 16, 17 at college together, and she's got in touch with me about things, about when I've been writing things on social media, not as dark as this, but when I was a bit angry and depressed and going through a bit of a rough time mentally and emotionally at different points. So she's a lovely girl, I love her a lot. Thanks for doing that, mate. I won't name you in this video, but you know who you are if you watch this or listen to this. Anyway, she got in touch and said, have you spoke to your GP about the way you were feeling yesterday? It might be good to speak to a professional. And then one of our other female friends that was in the same message tag that she tagged, the first one had messaged me in a message that had a group message on Twitter that had all three of us in. And then she got in touch with me, which is lovely of her, to make sure I was okay, and to see if I should, maybe, both of them said therapy might help you, and I've thought about that for a while. And then one of my other female friends got in touch, and then a bunch of people. I know that. Okay, so sorry. Let me just say what then happened. Then I decided that day, on the Tuesday, the 18th or whatever it was, to then book an appointment with my GP. I managed to get an appointment for 2.5 hours after I rang them. I went about 5:10 on that day. Spoke to my GP about it. He gave me a form and stuff to fill out, and within a month I will be having counselling and therapy, and that taking action made me feel so like a massive weight had been lifted off my mind, spirit and soul. And a lot of people get depressed, a lot of people drink a lot. I was drinking a lot, smoking weed sometimes to numb the pain. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with drinking in general or smoking weed or whatever. That's not why everyone does it, but sometimes it can be like that. And it's not like I was doing them every single day in excess all the time, but sometimes I was. And I know a lot of people do, because they have unresolved trauma, and they just do it to numb the pain. Anyway, I wrote on Facebook something along the lines of, a few days later, on the Friday I believe, to any family and friends who privately worry about my mental emotional state but don't mention it to me. I know you're out there. Just to let you all know, I've taken steps this week. I took some steps towards getting some counselling / therapy, and I feel like a massive weight has been lifted from my mind, spirit and soul, and I have a very positive outlook for my life going forward. #positive vibes, because I know people worry about me. And around this time, like recently, you might be watching this, listening to this in the future at some point, but around this time in the beginning of 2020, the presenter, I believe she's a presenter, I think, Caroline Flack, took her own life. And a lot of people over the last few years and throughout history, but a lot of celebrities throughout the last few years have committed suicide in one way or another. And a lot of it was to do with trauma from their childhood. A lot of it was to do with whatever was going on in their life at the time. Some of it was to do with the pressure from the media and the mainstream media getting on at them, right? And even just being on social media too much is not necessarily good for anyone's mental and emotional health. And then the combination of some or all of the above mixed together, lack of being able to talk about their feelings. I'm guessing I can't think of any particular examples. I'm not sure too much about Caroline Flack, but I'm sure other people that have taken their own life were not necessarily going to counselling. Some of them had drink problems and drug problems, or both. A lot of them probably had childhood trauma, various different things with their parents or whatever, in various different ways. But what it all comes down to is what the message I'm trying to get across in this video is: look after each other, check on your friends. A big thank you to all my friends that supported me after they saw that status, and especially to my female friends, especially all three of them equally, but particularly the first one who messaged me, and all three of those girls that got in touch with me about this, and everyone who's shown me support, family, friends, acquaintances, even people I haven't heard from in years about it. It's just an awful thing, isn't it? Like, if anyone out there who's feeling suicidal right now, I urge you to go to your doctor, reach out to your friends, your family, but definitely go and try and get some professional help, therapy, counselling. We can get trapped in our head. If you're spending a lot of time on your own away from other people, don't do that shit. That's unhealthy. I've done that too much over the last 4 years. And there are probably people out there. It's not that it's a comparison game, not to diminish anyone or diminish my own experience or downplay it, but like, there are probably people, I'm sure there are people out there who struggle more than me. Probably every day they feel like this. I don't feel like this every day, but I know some family members and friends that have said they feel like this a lot. Some people every day. Some people are not spending time on their own. They're around other people, but they still feel like this. Or worse, even, again, to make the distinction, even though I have been technically suicidal and had suicidal thoughts, I'm in a very dark place mentally, emotionally, I didn't go to the degree of like wanting, even though part of me is like, yes, I want it to end. It's not like I want to go and now kill myself. Some people are at that stage where they literally want to kill themselves, as in like they're thinking, I'm going to do it in this way. And they're thinking, and some people go and try to do it, and some people obviously do it. So it's all basic. It's almost the same thing, and it all comes under the banner of suicidal thoughts, or being in a suicidal mindset, or a very dark place, right? And even people who aren't suicidal, who are in a very dark, depressed place and just feel fucking completely lost. It's all fucking bad, whatever it is. It's not a comparison game, but what I'm trying to say is, if we're going to make a little bit of a distinction, at least I'm not in that place, which is good. But everyone out there, look after each other. Anyone feeling suicidal, I urge you to immediately call Samaritans if you want. Call, if you're in the UK, I don't know what the American equivalent is, or whatever country you're in around the world watching or listening to this. Look, if you're family, look after your family and friends. If you notice anyone writing anything on social media, check in with them, make sure they're okay. Spread peace and love to everyone. Be kind to people. Don't bully people. Parents, be kind to your children. if anyone you know has a bit of a drink or a drug problem, that absolutely is going to be stemmed from covering up some kind of pain. So anyone out there someone who you know is very depressed in any way, or possibly suicidal, you definitely know they are, or anyone who is feeling suicidal, or even if you're not feeling suicidal, feeling depressed in general, it's not a competition who's feeling worse, but you know what I mean, like anyone who's in a dark place mentally or emotionally, anyone who's spending too much time on your own, I urge you to speak to your GP and get some counselling. I urge you to reach out to family and friends. If you feel like you're on your own, you can always ring a suicide number or a depression number of some kind, of help number of whatever country you're in. In the UK, it's the Samaritans. Or go and speak to your GP, as I've said a few times already in this podcast / video. And, you know, look after yourself, look after each other. All right? Don't harass celebrities and say nasty things about people, right, on social media. You never know what someone's going through. You might be the person that sends them over the edge. Everyone look after each other. Just be more aware. I think it's a beautiful thing that the time we're in right now, at the time we're in right now, everyone's becoming more conscious of mental health and emotional health. You know, before that wasn't necessarily the case. You know, that definitely wasn't the case in years gone by. You know, over the last 100 years, we've gotten more and more aware of it, and over the last 20 years, and particularly over the last 5 years, and particularly over the last 2 or 3 years, definitely at the time of making this in 2020, we've become more and more aware of it, and society's waking up to, you know, mental and emotional, spiritual well-being a lot more, and it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. So that's a positive thing to say, and that's a positive thing to end on. I think it's a positive vibe to end on. So yeah, just look after each other, people, and look after yourselves. Peace and love. Thank you once again to the people that have helped me through this, and I hope everyone is doing all right out there. I'm certainly feeling great about my life, and want to get my life back on track. Okay, peace and love to you all. Bye-bye.